Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Heinzman.
Thank you, Dougie Six, coming to you from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project as well as DraftKings. We thank them both, as always, for their sponsorship of the program. You can go check out www.thebamboozleproject.com. Save yourself 20% off your entire purchase, including anything MYPB related. And you can do that by using promo code MYPB at checkout. We thank DraftKings for their sponsorship as always. This is episode 174, 174. So I'm going to say that again because it actually sounded somewhat decent today. It's not many words I pronounced right.
Good one.
174. So if you're utilizing the SAP features available to you on this morning's episode or replaying it in the afternoon or evening, I guess, whenever you'd like, we welcome you to MYPB. You can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can certainly DM us on the Instagram platform. We are always available there and always answering your questions, comments, concerns. People last night were actually saying how impressed they were that we respond to everything. Someone actually said it last night. We do. If you DM us, I promise you're going to get an answer from us. You can listen to the program, or actually, let me say it like this. You can watch the program live via Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or you can stream it at your convenience on the platforms known as iTunes or Spotify, and you can do that whenever is good for you. As we are taping this episode live on Wednesday morning, November 13th, just so you know where we are, and kind of like current part of time, right?
When the PBA went out. For Mika.
Yes.
Is that what they call it when they're searching for someone? What do they call it, Brian?
What do they call it, B-Rock?
No, it was like 3 letters.
Yeah, I don't know what
the FBI uses when they're like APB. Okay. APB, I think it's called.
You would know more than me. We will get to Mika. I promise. There's enough Mika that's coming here that it's more than I'm going to want to talk about. But let's do what we always do and kind of keep things in chronological order here from when we last left last Wednesday. So I decided, and I said it on Instagram, I decided I was going to go to the game on Thursday night versus Buffalo. Here's what happened. We live in New Jersey. So if you live in New Jersey, you know what I'm about to say. If you don't live in New Jersey, you're going to see that we are completely, completely weird and you don't know what's going on. But this is the truth. What happens? There is a phantom holiday in New Jersey. Yeah. It's usually the second Thursday and Friday of the month of November, where there is what's known as Teachers Convention.
Yes.
And hypothetically, what is supposed to happen is all the teachers are supposed to gather in Atlantic City for a convention to strengthen their classrooms, etc. Nobody ever goes to it, but the schools get off for it. So my kids were off of school Thursday and Friday last week. They went with my wife to Great Adventure for the day. Lucky them, which is a great day to go because there's never any lines. Most other states are in school and people don't think to go. So I had the day to myself after work.
Nice.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go by myself, one ticket, and I'll find people at the game that I know. I go, I find plenty of people there. We ended up standing. There is a section behind the net that Igor's in twice. I believe it's section like 201, 202 area where there's a bunch of just tables that you can hang. You don't even need seats there. And you can, I guess the thought process is you get your food and if you're eating your food, you can stand there and watch and you move on. Well, we stayed there the whole game. Or when I say we stayed there the whole game, we stayed there as long as we were there.
Seems like an insider tip here.
Which was not really that long. So I go to this game on Thursday night and I'm kind of, I don't know why, maybe different feeling being by myself, like kind of excited a little bit to just have something different, right? This was easily, and I said this walking to my car in our Instagram story, but I hadn't really thought it through. And then I thought it through and I've come to the conclusion that I'm right. This was without a doubt the worst game I've ever attended of the Rangers in my life. Now, thankfully,
all time,
not even close. But let me say this is not a swan song because I'm so fortunate that I'm there for a ton of great memories. I'm there with my kids and my wife all the time that it worked. And if this is going to happen, let it happen when my wife and kids are not there so they're not affected by this complete disaster that I watched. 26 seconds into the game, literally 26 seconds into the game, in the net that's right in front of my face, by the way, Dahlin scores, and it is 1-0 Buffalo. And by the time you even blinked, it's now 5-0 in the second period versus a team that is just not very good at all. Like, it's just not. So, not a lot to positives to come out of that game. I will tell you something I noticed, and from being there that night, that I would not have noticed on TV. So if I could maybe educate some of you on what it was like to be there that night or how bad it was by saying what I'm about to say, I'm going to be the bearer of the person that's telling you this. But there were so many passes that night that the Rangers would pass the puck and the player just completely missed the pass. Either it was 5 feet in front of them, either it bounced over their stick and hit the board. It just was a complete epic disaster. Nothing went right. Like, literally nothing. For me to leave a game early and leave a game early that my kids are not at because they don't have, it's not like I have the excuse of getting them home for school. I didn't have anything Friday, but I couldn't even sit there and watch the third period. It was that bad that I left after the second. And when you were going out the vestibules of the Garden at the second intermission, I was not alone. It was packed getting out of there. I think,
stuck in misery
that no one wanted to stay. Now, I do give credit to one of our favorite MYPB listeners who lives in South Carolina, Nikolai, who had been telling me for weeks, when you go to a game, because he used to live up here, there is an empanada spot that you should go to. Now, my plan was always to try and go there before a game because I don't need to eat that stuff at 10 o'clock at night. But I was so annoyed and depressed, and my kids were still a Great Adventure, so I wasn't going home to anything. I knew that, like, traffic wasn't going to be bad. I decided to try and cope with what I just dealt with empanadas, and it ended up working. So Empanada Mama in Hell's Kitchen, recommended by Nikolai, who's in the chat, I can see. I would recommend you go there. So what you want to see now on Saturday in Detroit, right? I've now witnessed literally the worst Ranger game I've ever seen in my life. What you would expect to happen in Detroit is a bounce back, right?
Bounce back game.
That they will come out clicking on all cylinders, that the coaching staff or whoever sits there and on the in-between travel day on Friday, looks at film, and obviously there's a lot that needs to be corrected, but says to the team, okay, this is what's got to get fixed. This has got to get changed in the defensive zone. We're going to change this, and we're going to make some changes because we cannot have a repeat of this performance in Detroit. Now, if you actually look at the score and you didn't watch Saturday night, let's say you didn't watch and you saw the Rangers won 4-0, your first inclination is going to be, well, hey, that was a bounce back win. As bad as the 6-1 loss was 2 nights ago to Buffalo at home at the Garden, where the team never showed up and didn't even know that there was a game, they bounced back and won 4-0. But if you watch the game, you would know it was exactly not what happened. 20 seconds into the game, where, again, you would expect a bounce back game. You would expect them to come out clicking on all cylinders with some sort of fire after what just happened. They ended up letting up a grade A opportunity that Jonathan Quick stopped. Jonathan Quick, I think at 38 or something saves, literally stood on his head in a game that the Rangers had no business winning. If you were a Red Wing fan, okay, and you were it's Saturday night, it's a home game, it's original 6 game, it's Red Wings versus, the Rangers, and you're there watching this game, you're annoyed because you lost 4-0 and you were so far the superior team. Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of look at Saturday night at the end of it, where there's just no better example of a game that you don't deserve to win, but you get out of town with the 2 points, which is why you go to Detroit and run. Okay. You know what? That's what happens. So last night happens, and last night is, so I could go either way going into last night. Winnipeg comes in at 14-1. Clearly the best team in hockey right now. Now, awards are not given out for being the best team in hockey in November. We know this, okay? Anyone knows this, but I'm going to go off of the sample size that I have in front of me, and the only sample size I have is the 1 month or a little over a month of the season so far. So that is going to be what I am going to use. And now the best team comes into town, where clearly the Rangers are not playing that well. So this will then, in essence, be a litmus test, right? Let's see how it works out, right? You're going to find out. Can I go toe-to-toe with the best team in the league, or am I going to get blown out of the building? Okay? Now, the Rangers obviously lose last night 6-3. And I'm gonna take the positive approach first, because there's a glass half full and there's a glass half empty approach.
No.
I'm gonna try to do what I don't normally do and be an optimist, because anyone who knows me knows I'm not an optimist. And as Nikolai says, we got 93 problems. If we can put that up, and there's a hidden message in that. Very well played there, my man. But I'm gonna take the positive approach. Okay.
We always start off this way, but go ahead.
Right. We'll get to.
You start. You try.
Well,
it's the thought that counts.
And I can see Michael Coons on the chat is actually on board with what I'm about to say. For parts of the game,
yes.
And I could be even maybe a little bit more nice and say most of the game, they went toe-to-toe with clearly the best team in the league. It was 1-0. The Rangers came back and tied it at 1. The Rangers went down 2-1. They came back and tied it at 2. They went down 4-2. They made it 4-3, and then Capo Caco hits a post that could have tied the game. They battled, right? But when you look at this game, you can see, and you don't need to be a hockey fan or a hockey aficionado, and I'm not an aficionado. I'm not, right? I wasn't schooled in hockey. I play in like the lowest league division where I play. But you don't need to be a hockey fan to know that at the end of this game, there is a difference between Winnipeg and the Rangers. There just is. The Rangers are not in that class right now. So when we put out on Mondays every week with NYR Discussion, our weekly power rankings, where we rank, the top 10 teams across the entire NHL, and people complain to us privately because they're afraid to put it in the comments. How do you have the Rangers at number 10 and Winnipeg is number 1? They could play with Winnipeg. Now you know why they are where they are, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to complain, right?
Yeah.
All right. Last night, let's start here with last night. Or actually, let me say this. What is a common theme in the past 3 games, which have all been problems, even though they won in Detroit? What is the common theme that is in every game? Let's look at the first minute of every game. The Buffalo game last week that I was at. Dahlin scores on the Rangers 26 seconds into the game. In Detroit, 20 seconds into the game, Jonathan Quick has to make a ridiculous save on a point-blank opportunity just 20 seconds into the game. Last night, first minute in, the Rangers' first shift was excellent right off the faceoff. By 19:30, so 30 seconds into the game, Rangers had the puck in their offensive end the entire time. And then what happens? Mika Zibanejad turns the puck over, and Scheifele scores in under a minute. So, in your last 3 games, the start has been awful. You let up a goal in 2 of the 3 games, and it would be 3 of 3, which is for you to let up a goal in the first minute, 3 of 3 games. I think that's actually hard to do. I think it's hard to screw up. But the Rangers almost managed to do that, if not for Jonathan Quick with a great save 20 seconds in on Saturday night. So let's start here. Everyone wants to go at Mika, and we're going to go there right now. I don't like, if you were on our story last night, on our Instagram story, I don't particularly like, and I've never liked doing this, and I don't think I ever will be comfortable doing this, but I'm going to do it because that's what we're here to do. I'm never comfortable bashing certain players unless they deserve it. So you can come at me with Zach Jones, because I've done that before. I was about to
say Zach Jones, Rempe. Like, I don't like doing this,
but it's different when it's Mika, because Mika is not of the same expectation as Rempe.
Supposed to be one of the best players in the league.
We talked about the last couple weeks with Mika Zibanejad, and I see all of your comments on Instagram and YouTube, and I promise everyone we'll get to them. But we've talked about the last week that he's just looked lost, right? We even said last week with Casey Hudson from Sports Grid TV when she was on, and we talked about it, and there is an actual clip about it, so you can just go on our Instagram page and see it, that Mika, the stats are not abysmal. He's almost at a point a game, which, if you think about it, if he was healthy and stays healthy, which is never given with any player, and he played in 82 games, and if he was almost averaging a point a game, what is that, 78 points a game if you're a little under a point a game, something like that. Maybe you don't love that as a number 1 center, but you're not sitting here screaming about things or going nuts like most people are today. Okay. The problem is this. Mika is becoming a mental issue. I don't know what is going on. It is on our Instagram story. I put it up this morning, And that is that if you watch the first goal, the one I just mentioned that Scheifele scores in the first minute, Mika Zibanejad takes the puck in the defensive end and literally throws it nowhere. Nowhere at all. I mean, it is literally thrown in the middle of nowhere. I feel bad saying that. I referee hockey in the winters. It's coming back that time of year. And I ref from like little kids, third graders up to high school seniors. Obviously different, not the same league, same games, but you could get a high school game, you could get a little kid game. When I have, and I thought about this at 3:00 in the morning, this morning when I was up, but when I ref these little kids, I never really even see what happened last night with Mika happen, where you just take a puck or ball in the league that I ref and just throw it across the middle to nowhere. It's highly concerning.
So in the past, we've talked about problems where maybe they make too many passes. Like they just don't just shoot the puck. Like we're trying to be fancy, made too many passes. Now they're making the wrong passes and they can't control the pass. Like they're not just.
It's with this in particular example, it's Mika just throwing the puck away. Now the second he had if one doing it once is bad, doing it twice is bad. When it happened a second time last night, because I was sitting on the couch and Jenny from the block was next to me, I posted that if you don't think there's anything wrong with Mika, you're nuts. Why don't you do it a third time and have a hat trick for the other team giving it up? And I didn't mean it seriously. And what do you think happens at the beginning of the first period? A turnover, or the third period, a turnover in the neutral zone that went the wrong way. Yeah. So what do you do with Mika Zibanejad, right? Everybody says to everybody last night, and that's fine if you want to say, get rid of Mika, get rid of Mika. Yeah, that would be fine. But also, is it realistic, right? Is it realistic to get rid of Mika? And the answer is it's probably not. And here's why. First off, he has a no-move clause. So you're going to have to get him, or any player that has a no-move clause, has to agree to wherever he's going to be sent to, okay? So if I'm Mika Zibanejad, and let's say, and I don't even think this would happen, Chris Drury gets a phone call from the other one of the 31 GMs, and they say, you know what? I will take Mika Zibanejad on this team. I'll take him to 2030. I'll take him off your hands. And Chris Drury says, great, because he ain't working out here right now. And you don't know what you're dealing with, or maybe you haven't watched the film. You want Mika Zibanejad, you can have him. Chris Drury then has to go to Mika and his agent and say, hey, Mika, Columbus wants you. Do you want to leave an Original Six franchise that has Igor in net and where you are getting 8.1 or 8.5 million a year and go play there? No, I don't.
Sorry.
So I don't. So Mika Zibanejad is not going anywhere. So we can get rid of the fact or get rid of the thought process that Mika Zibanejad is going to go anywhere, because he's not. He's just not going to go anywhere. So what do you do with him? Now that I can't get rid of him, what am I going to do with him? Mika Zibanejad, and a lot of you in the comments are saying this, the flu game, COVID, all this stuff, and that is in relevance to the 2021 season. Was it he left it B-Rock over there?
Brian's starting fights in the comments section.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he said Brian said the Devils could use him on the fourth line.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not going anywhere.
Michael is not having any part of that.
I'm pretty sure I know who Michael is, even though he will tell me that it's not him. But anyway, is it the fact here coming back that Mika is always or traditionally a slow starter, that he's always a streaky player? I'm not sure. I would have told you 3 weeks ago, if you were concerned when you're 2 or 3 weeks into the season and you've seen what you're seeing, okay, he's a slow starter. But now I don't necessarily think that that's what this is.
Well, there's a slow starter, like you're not hitting your shots, they're a little off, whatever, and then like not being able to pass the puck.
Right. And some of this is mental. Some of this is clearly a mental aspect if you just watched last night. And if people in the comments want to say that Mika is not the problem, then I have no idea what they're watching. I literally...
What lines? Was this the new line formation?
So the Rangers, this is a very good point. This was So last week the Rangers shuffled the lines, which now, if I'm Peter Laviolette, I've had enough, right? I've broken up the line of Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Panarin to try and better the other players on the team, not just Mika. You can't pin that on Mika. Mika's a part of it, but it's not the only reason. You're not going to break up the lines for one player, right? And I've done that because specifically I need to get everything going offensively. Now we can't get anything. They can't get anything going. So you have to go back. I think you almost have to right now. If anything, if you're going to not go back to the way it was with all 12 forwards, you have to at least go back to putting Lafreniere with Trocheck and Panarin. And then you want to do what you want to do with the other 9, that's fine. But you need to keep that top line, your best line,
performing line,
your best line going. So with Mika, you're not. So he's not going to. Obviously, you have Trocheck, right? If I had my way, Trocheck goes back with Panarin and Lafreniere. So do you keep Mika as your number 1 center, or do you are you then going to move Philip Hedl to that spot? I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer.
Your top performing line of Lafreniere,
Trocheck and
Panarin. Do you make that your number 1 line?
That to me is the number 1 line, production wise. Now, Chris, we'll pull up Chris's comment and get things going defensively. Is what, if you could pull that up, because this is Chris's point. Chris's point, and we know everyone here knows Chris because I get comments about Chris and people tag him in our post that they want his opinion too. Chris's point, to give you guys the other side, is I am a proponent of Lafreniere with Trocheck and Panarin. Chris, on the other hand, takes the argument that line plays no defense. But right now, they've got to get something going offensively, and I need that line together. So
Chris is usually saying like they score 5 goals, but they let up 6, so it doesn't make sense. Like easy math. Like he's saying that they score more goals, they score less goals than they let in. So that's why he's against that line, right?
Yes, I would think so. He can answer for himself. But yes, he likes to look at the goal differential. Another player. Well, I don't have and you know what? And I feel bad saying this. I don't have an answer for Mika. I'm not sure what they're going to do. They can't trade him. And I can't tell you how many times I've written back to people last night and today that he has a no move clause. I can't tell you they're going to get rid of him. They're not, right? So you're paying a guy $8.5 million. He's not going anywhere. He's got to either find his stride, and hopefully I'm wrong that this is maybe a streaky situation, which he's been before, but this is an extreme case of it. Or is this a case where he's just lost it?
Completely?
I thought of
completely.
I thought of a weird.
Just have the case of the yips.
Can someone tell me if this comparison is totally out of left field? When we were growing up, well, I'm older than you. How old are you?
I'm your generation, 38.
Okay, so you're younger. We'll leave it at that.
Sure.
There was a movie. Did you ever see the movie Rookie of the Year?
Absolutely.
Phenomenal movie.
That was the greatest generation of movies.
In the corner, who is the youngest of us all. As you've seen it? Okay, great.
It's
all right.
Great generation of movies.
Perfect. In the movie, what's his name? Henry Rowangown. I was going to Henry Rowangown, right? He has this freak arm injury. For those who never saw it, he's a little kid. He's probably 12 years old, 11 years old. He's a middle school kid. He ends up pitching for the Cubs. They play the Mets in, like, I don't remember if it was the NLCS or it was a game to make the playoffs. It was something like that. And all of a sudden, whatever the magical power of his arm injury was, was gone. Yeah. And he had to get the last batter on the Mets, the heavyset guy who spit, out by like throwing a lot because he had no speed anymore. He was back to being a normal kid. The superpower was gone overnight. What made him special was gone overnight. So now I'm going to ask the question: is that Mika Zibanejad? I mean, obviously not to that level.
So now he's just got to throw lollipops over the plate. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was his magical power, Mika? So the kid got hurt, and the reason why he had these magical powers is because he had this arm surgery, whatever, and it made his arm like a slingshot. It was like, right? What's Mika's magical power? He doesn't have it no more.
So we're not going to just target Mika. We're going to target everyone that needs to be targeted today. Keandre Miller has been atrocious.
Rem Sanity can replace.
We're not going on the Rem Sanity. There's no reason to talk about Rem Sanity today. Keandre Miller is having an atrocious year, an atrocious 2 weeks. in the defensive end. I can go back to his turnover in the second period on the home opener against Utah. I could think of some other plays. But Miller has been a turnover machine, as Nick Lombardo is saying on Instagram, and he is absolutely correct. I don't know with Keandre Miller what the deal is, and Molly on Instagram saying the same thing, has been a liability for the past 2 years, is absolutely correct. Defensively, Keandre Miller has, I don't want to use the word regressed because he never was at an elite level. He's a young defenseman still, but has gone backwards and is becoming a problem every single time he is on the ice.
Most of these issues with Keandre Miller, with Mika, these are mental issues. These aren't like they don't have the skill to pass the puck across the ice. These seem to be mental shortcomings.
Yes.
So they need to maybe go on a dinner cruise or something, or do some kind of team bonding, laser tag. I don't know.
A laser tag. I know why you're saying that, because we were talking about it. If anybody grew up in New Jersey, like Bergen County area, and you remember as a kid growing up Sports World on Route 17, which is what we were talking about. Yeah.
The best.
So Keandre Miller is a problem. I can't think of a player, and I'll even put Panarin in this boat for the last couple of weeks. And Igor too. The only player that I can think of in the last 2 to 3 weeks here that you could say has earned their contract. The only one, you want to guess?
Igor?
Nope. Jonathan Quick. Other than that, I can't tell you if I'm
overpaid.
If I'm James Dolan and I'm doing weekly or bi-weekly payrolls, however they get paid. Cool. You know what? Michael had a good answer. Cooley is actually also had Cooley will be that's fair. Cooley and Quick are the only ones to me in the last 2 weeks that have played well. And I see Bill on Instagram saying the same thing. Yes. I shouldn't have thrown in
So in your P&L sheet, if you were running a business, your profit and losses, you would say the only people in the black are Cooley and Quick.
Everyone else last 2 weeks
in the red, but they owe us money.
Filipino has not had a good last 2 or 3 weeks.
Interesting.
He's been okay. He hasn't been abysmal, but if you're going to tell me that he stood out, that he's had really good play the last 2 or 3 weeks, he has not. He has not. Now, let's also try to remain positive with what I am about to tell you. Let's go and have a little bit of a quick story of a historical event that you all remember because it was not that long ago. Last year in October, in their first week and a half under Peter Laviolette in his first year, they had a pretty bad first week, and they had a game against Nashville on a Thursday night. Okay. And they were completely out of it. I hosted that game actually for the Hockey Podcast Network in Canada. I did like a live watch thing, and it was just terrible to be a part of, but I had to watch the whole thing because I was on there. Right. And they didn't look good. And what happened after that Nashville game was the Rangers then headed out west for 5 games. They had the Western Canada grouping of Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, sprinkled in with Seattle Kraken. And they had a 5-game road trip when they were not playing well. And as you all remember, they went out there. They went 5-0 on the trip. And they really never turned back from that. They found their groove last season in winning the President's Trophy. If you were to look back and say, where did they find their groove? Where did they find their stride? It was that 5-0 Western road trip. So they play San Jose tomorrow night at home. Where do they go after that?
Same tour?
The same exact tour. Well, minus Winnipeg. They'll play 4 of the 5 teams. They go out to Seattle and then Calgary, then Vancouver and Edmonton. Yes.
But this tour is happening a little earlier this year. It seems like
it's less. It was in October last year.
Oh, okay.
So similar early in the season.
All right.
But it's also eerily similar because it's happening at a time where the team is not overall playing well at all. And last year when they went on the road and they went out there, that was when it all kind of came together. Now,
maybe there's something in the water.
As Gavin is saying on Instagram, and I would agree with him. I'm going to read your comment, Gavin, and that is everyone needs to calm down with this stuff. We're not terrible. We need tweaks. Jersey has played 5 more games than us, and we're only 5 points behind. Their record, as I've sat here for 29 minutes and 44 seconds since we went live, and I've given you kind of like a pretty dark episode between me going to the Buffalo game and everything going wrong. Their record is 9-4-1. So Gavin does bring up a really good point, which is that this is not a team that is 4-9-1. They're 9-4-1. Now, I could argue, if you want me to be fair, I could argue that in those 14 games they have played, they haven't had the worst schedule ever. But you don't control your schedule. You play who you play. That's not on them by any means. So,
they're right in the thick of it. They have 4 losses, right? The Devils right now, statistically, with the points, are in first place with 24 points, but they have 6 losses. Hurricanes got 3 losses. Capitals have 4 losses. Like, you're right there with everybody else. It's not like it's a glaring, like the Flyers have 8 losses, Penguins have 9 losses.
The other positive, and I said this to someone on DM, and I don't remember which one it was, and I apologize. I'd give you your name. I'd give you the shout out if I could, but I don't remember. Is that I said last night that you would rather a team be going through this in November than April, right? And there is always, even last year with the Rangers, right? They went on to win the President's Trophy, right? They literally had the best record out of 32 NHL teams. What happened on a Saturday night game in Ottawa in January? You thought the season was over. They had been playing miserable. They were down 2-0 at the end of the first period, if I remember right. And they turned it around and won the President's Trophy. So if you look at it from a graph, right, the marathon of a season, there's always parts of the graph where it is trending down. It's never just a straight vertical. I was going to use a slope term to impress Jenny from the block, but it's never just a positive trajectory the entire season. And you'd rather the negative come now. And I do think for them, if Mika, if some of this, and I say if in quotation marks, if some of this is mental, the best thing for Mika Zibanejad next week is to get out of here, right? Don't have home games for a week and a half. Play against San Jose tomorrow night. And don't think San Jose is terrible, by the way, because our producer B-Rock is sitting in the corner, will tell you because he's a Devil fan. Don't sleep on San Jose. Because they've been playing better. So if you think San Jose is just going to be a gimme last game, that's what I thought I was going to see against Buffalo last week, and I left.
The last couple of games, nothing's a gimme nowadays.
Yeah. So I think for Mika and maybe even the team as a whole right now, the best thing to do is get on a Delta plane, because that's what they fly on their charter, fly out to Seattle on Saturday because they play on Sunday, and just get out of here for a week.
Dodge.
And just get out of here. One other thing I should mention, last Thursday, before the Buffalo game, I'm sitting in my car because I have to wait for free parking to open up. So I'm sitting in my car, and all of a sudden, I look down, and Kevin Weeks tweets out kind of like a tease that Igor is looking at signing $11.5 million. Which you would also then equate, I think there was something in the tweet, if I remember, that it was for 8 years, which would make sense. So that happens, and the thought process. Now, Kevin Weeks knows his stuff, but unless you hear something from the Rangers, right, you're not going to bet your mortgage on it. So the thought process was, Igor, it'll be announced tomorrow on Friday, the off day before they go to Detroit. Well, Igor got pulled that Thursday night. Nothing got announced Friday, which I don't know if maybe that one has to do with the other. I honestly don't know. It was just a theory I had. But hopefully Igor, because I see there were some people asking about it, is closer to being signed.
People in the chat are saying they want Igor wants to be over 12. Well, not after this little couple losses, right?
I don't think these couple losses
play better.
I don't think these couple losses dictate what salary he's going to get for the next 8 years. But he has not had a good week. He did not have a good I mean, the Buffalo game was probably the worst game I've ever seen Igor Shesterkin play. Right? What did he let up? 8 goals on 13. I know 5 goals on 13 shots versus Buffalo. I mean, he deserves the money. I mean, you know what Igor can be. And remember, Igor struggled last year. If you remember coming out of the All-Star break in February, right? The Rangers had been off for a week, and they went back and they went with Quick for the first 2 games because Igor just wasn't right. But you all know how Igor played in the spring, which is really where it matters. Right? I mean, to me, we've been down this Igor road a million times. I'm not sure that I
Yeah. Now's the time to figure it out. Now's the time to figure it out.
So the Rangers are home tomorrow against San Jose. And then, as I mentioned, they go out west. They are at Seattle Sunday night. They are at the Canucks on Tuesday, at the Flames on Thursday, and end in Edmonton on Saturday. I absolutely hate.
Mm-hmm.
And the older I get, I even hate it more every year when they're out west in these late night games.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. I can't stand it.
Yeah. It's late.
So next Tuesday, so we are on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Next Tuesday night, they are in Calgary at 10, which means that game ends at 12:40, 12:30 if no overtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's just annoying during the week.
Yeah.
But it's not, I mean, you're not going to make Calgary have a home game at 5 o'clock at night, their time, right? They fancy. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It just is what it is.
It does stink when you're watching a specific team, but it's not too shabby when you're, like last night I was like up late, whatever, nothing on. Oh, the Edmonton and Islander game was on. It was like a later game.
Who won that game, by the way?
The Oilers won in overtime. Oilers had a 3-1 lead in the third, and Islanders came back, put it into overtime, and then like 2 minutes into overtime, just simple slap shot from the corner and the side, and it just.
I like the fact that the Islanders have been losing. Although they blew. I tell you, we'll do around the league on one of these other weeks where we don't have a lot of Ranger stuff going on. But and the Islanders will not make the playoffs. I see someone's writing in the chat. They will not make the playoffs, especially with the way the Metro looks already. But the Islanders have this like sickness. It would drive me nuts, right?
Yeah.
They blow leads. It's like they cannot hold on to leads. And the other night they're playing the Devils on Saturday night. They're up 3-1 late. And the Devils tie it with 2 late goals. The last goal, I think it was Mason. That's what I was going to say. And then scored just a terrible goal. And then Jack Hughes wins it in overtime. The Islanders give away points. Like they're not making the playoffs. So, all right. So again, that is the Ranger schedule. A lot going on. We stay active with you on Instagram through the week, every day, all day. We're always on there, and we will take your questions. Hopefully with Mika by next Wednesday. There's something positive. Speaking of positive, I have a very positive thing for you.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not sure it'll like make the discussion.
Might not make my day, but it'll make my morning.
It'll make your morning. Last week, okay, the picks. We were 5-3-1 going into the week. We had a perfect week. Someone posted that if you had taken what I said as a parlay, which I would never tell you to do, right? The odds were plus 2,430, so plus 2,435.
So $1 you would have gotten $2,000.
No, you would have won 234. I believe is how that would work.
Okay.
So if you had done like a $5 parlay,
that's like
we had a perfect week. We had the Panthers in Munich plus 5.5 against the Giants. Panthers won that game outright. Not a surprise. The Bills -4 at the Colts. The Bills won that. Tampa +5 at home. Tampa lost by 3, so you had the cover. I told you the Cardinals -1 at home versus the Jets was a pick 'em, and the Jets were not good, and the Jets had to travel across the country, and that game was a blowout. That was an easy hit. And the Broncos +8 at Kansas City obviously hit, but if the Broncos don't have that field goal blocked at the end of the game, they end up beating the Kansas City Chiefs outright. Yeah. So we were 5 for 5 again with that. So the record now on the season through week 10, we've had 6 winning weeks, 3 losing weeks, and 1 push. So if you've been following us, we've made you some pretty good money. We will try to do that in week number 11. So here's our week 11 picks. I like the Colts +4 at the Jets. I can't take the Jets. I can't even go near them. I've got a team that's getting points against the Jets. They're covered by more than a field goal, and a team that I just don't trust. I'm taking the Colts +4 at the Jets. I'm taking the Patriots +5 at home versus the Rams. The Rams looked atrocious Monday night at home versus the Dolphins. How they lose a game that they need in that situation is beyond me. And now they need to travel across the country, and the Patriots are getting 5 points, and the Patriots are coming off a win. Not that the Bears are good, but I'm taking the Patriots +5 at home versus the Rams. I'm taking the Saints -1 at Browns against the Browns. The Saints have been bad. They fired their coach. They have a new coach. Teams seem to play well for their new coach. This is now a home game that is a pick 'em. I'm taking the Saints -1. one of the better games of the year is this weekend, and that is the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs going up to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills are way better, are not getting enough press because they've been really good this year. They will easily win the AFC East. I am taking the Chiefs, though, plus 2.5 at the Bills. When I can get Patrick Mahomes in a big game getting points, and I'm getting 2.5, I'm taking the Chiefs 2.5 at the Bills. Lastly is a game that I really like, the Sunday night game. I like the Bengals plus 1.5 at the Rams. Or actually, you know what? I did that wrong at the Chargers. I had the wrong LA team. I had the Bengals plus 1.5 at the Chargers. Chargers have been way too inconsistent. You saw last week how good Chase is and Burrow. That offense looks like it's clicking. The Chargers don't play defense, and the Bengals are getting 1.5. I'm taking the Bengals. So to recap the week number 11 picks, I take the Colts plus 4 at the Jets, the Pats plus 5 at home versus the Rams, the Saints minus 1 at home in New Orleans against the Browns, the Chiefs plus 2.5 up in Western New York and Orchard Park against the Bills, and lastly, the Sunday night game, the Bengals plus 1.5 at the Chargers. Good with that? You okay?
Yeah.
So
I mean, parlay that, make some money.
Yeah. Before we go, well, while we're on the subject of just talking about like New York athletes that are not performing to what they should be,
that's why I'm not fighting you on any of this, because it's just god awful.
What are the odds, while we're on the subject of odds, that next year, I would think it's got to be decent, that both the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and the Giants with Daniel Jones have different quarterbacks?
Well, the Giants, Joe Shane and Brian Dable have normally been like, he's our quarterback. This week, they kind of alluded to, we're evaluating everything, which was kind of a little bit different than what they normally say. People are saying that the Panthers game was the last time we see Daniel Jones start a game. They might, right now, if everything ended today, the Giants have the second overall pick. But this goes to, previous conversations we had with previous quarterbacks in years where like Sam Darnold's a great example. Sam Darnold wasn't that bad, but as we see, there's other positions that are important on a football field. Aaron Rodgers is apparently a great quarterback, but there's other positions that need to step up. So like, I don't know if wasting a first round draft pick on a quarterback solves all your problems.
Are you now at a point? I mean, I would think the Giants have to be, and I saw someone made a TikTok about this. If you're a Giant fan, the TikTok was this. They were watching the Carolina line up for the field goal to beat them in overtime, and they were all cheering when Carolina won because you're getting a better draft pick. You're not playing for anything this year.
There's a replay.
No. Of Giants fans cheering, not the players. No. That would not be good. No. There's a video of a couple Giants fans watching the game, being happy when
Well, at that point, if you're watching this whole Panther game and it is, excuse my French, dog crap, at the end of the game,
you should
why
say
would
it
you
in
want
German,
to win?
by the way, because the game was in Germany. Just saying.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
If at the end of the game you watch that dog junk and you barely won it, you would want to lose. I feel like you can't beat the Panthers. Why? What are like they're like the worst team in the league right now. But and Jacksonville Jaguars, like Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville gets the first overall pick there. Both teams are 2-8.
Okay.
So like at what point, I've said it in week 1, like 2 and 3, like I'm tapping out, but I didn't really. I went to a few games, like whatever.
That under's hitting. The under hit of the total games at MetLife is definitely hitting.
I'm still unpacking some stuff at the house. We moved, and like one of the boxes was my hot toddy container. And I was like, yeah, it's not coming out this year.
That's good.
There's no toddies this season.
No. Well, that is a wrap for us. We appreciate you listening in as always with the Rangers again home tomorrow against San Jose before they then embark on a Western Canada plus Seattle road trip. We thank the Bamboozle Project as always for their sponsorship. Go to thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your entire order. We thank DraftKings as well. That is a wrap for us, and we will talk to you next week.